The pick is in.
The Boston Bruins have made a selection in the 2024 NHL Draft. I'm Rachel Donner. We're joined by Ian McLaren of Locked On Boston Bruins to break down the Bruins taking Dean Letourneau with the 25th overall pick presented by Indeed. There's no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build yours. To upgrade your job, post at Indeed.com/lockedon. So is this the pick that you would have expected the Bruins to make, or is it a little bit of a surprise?
I think he was Dean Letourneau was definitely one of the players that we had discussed on the podcast as an option, but probably more closer to the bottom of the list. Cole Beaudoin of the Barrie Colts was selected right before by Utah, and they traded up. I really think they had a sense that the Bruins were going to select him if he was still on the board. A couple other names like Sasha Bovair or Jet Luchenko, I think, were on their radar. But the Bruins need center depth, and Dean Letourneau is a very high, potentially high reward guy that they could have selected here with the 25th pick. Certainly a guy that fits into Don Sweeney's mold of guys they were looking at.
Yeah, it is interesting because he's the guy, that some people had ranked as a first rounder, but a lot of people had in the second round. And so are you worried about the development time it will take to get him there?
I mean, yeah, he's still pretty raw. He's committed to Boston College for the fall, and he's probably a few years away. He put up, ungodly numbers at his prep school, like 127 points in 50 games. Obviously, level of competition, not what he'll face at Boston College and moving forward. But I think it will probably take a good 2, 3, maybe 4 years for him to make an impact for the Boston Bruins. But Don Sweeney was keen on getting into the first round. He wanted to replenish the prospect pool. It, cost them Linus Ullmark, and they had to pick up Joonas Korpisalo in order to get into the first round. So there's kind of a lot riding on it. A lot of the fan base was really tuned into this to see what they would do, considering the cost of acquiring this pick. But I think down the road, it's definitely could be a pick that really pays off for the Boston Bruins. It'll probably take a bit of patience from the organization and especially the fans.
Yeah, it seems like he's a power forward. And so, where do you see him fitting in the Bruins organization in terms of depth and where he could potentially get to in the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you look at the Buffalo Sabres and you see what they have in big center in Tage Thompson, and you envision maybe one day that could happen. With his size, his skill, I mean, you would at least hope that he becomes maybe their third line center one day. We all know they have gaping holes down the middle, like high end centers. They may address that Monday in free agency. The hope is they will do that. Best case scenario, he becomes their first line center and he's playing with David Pastrnak in a few years. Ideally, or maybe what they project is that he's at least their third line center with maybe some second line upside there for them, scoring, grit, developing into a two-way player as the Bruins value from all their players is being defensively responsible as well.
Well, we'll see what else the Bruins have in store in this draft. And for more on the Bruins, subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Dean Letourneau is the biggest forward available for the 2024 NHL Draft, but can he make it work at that level? I'm Hadi Kalikesh from Locked On NHL Prospects, ready to give you the breakdown. Letourneau is a 6'7", 207-pound right shot center who played for St. Andrews College in the U18 prep school level. He scored 61 goals and added 66 assists for 127 points in only 56 games in U18 prep. And not a lot of NHLers play their draft year in Canadian prep school, but Letourneau is just too unique to pass up in the top 50. He's surprisingly coordinated for his size, and he has pretty good puck skills as well. I especially like the way that his hands and his playmaking work together to create in transition. On the other hand, though, he's still very much raw and relies a bit too much on his frame when carrying the puck. Letourneau's off to Boston College next year and will have a much clearer idea of his upside when he's not bullying high schoolers, but as he stands, he could develop into anything between Brian Boyle and Tage Thompson. For more on Letourneau and all things NHL Draft, follow and subscribe to Locked On NHL Prospects on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And for continuing coverage of the 2024 NHL Draft, subscribe to Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.